All right, I'm Addie Pierce, and this is my capstone. So actually, deciding on my capstone was a really long process. I actually started, I'm going to first talk about the Dutch Valley Youth Project. This is a picture of me and my friend. We actually started doing it. This was my junior year. I was super excited. We were basically going to redo a whole youth room for an underprivileged part of town. It's a campus at our church is where that would be at. But that fell through. I think funds with my church, and then the work crew kind of fell through. So that didn't really go well. And then I was like, I'll do benefit worship services where, you have people pay a small amount to come in, and, I would talk about certain things, and my heart is, I have a big heart for human trafficking. So I was going to do something that would benefit that. But that fell through solely because of my own fault. I had a bad lack of planning, and my schedule just got so busy, and that became really overwhelming, and I know that that's not what this is about. And then my next idea, which was probably my favorite one, the one that I really wanted to do, was weekly worship at Carm. This also was becoming too much because I just couldn't get that on a schedule because of how much stuff I was doing. So through all of that, I realized I was so busy because of something I was doing that could be my capstone in and of itself, which was leading worship in a lot of different places. And I had to step back and be like, if I really invest myself and jump on more opportunities, this in itself could become my capstone. So my mentor in this was Miss Brock. And I don't know if I actually said what I call my capstone, but I've been calling it bringing worship to different environments, which I'll explain in a few minutes. But my mentor was Miss Brock because for the past 3 years, she has really pushed me to step out of my comfort zone. I get up in front of chapel every other Thursday, and I may not seem nervous, but I get pretty nervous, and Miss Brock has to push me to do things I don't want to do, like play piano or play guitar. That's both been because of her. So she's caused me to take a lot of opportunities I wouldn't have. So like I said, the different environments that I was leading worship at was Dutch Valley Youth Nights. That actually came from my first project. We just kind of cut down, and I would go and lead worship every Saturday night, which I'll go into more detail in the next few slides about what these are. But also, I led at Park West HSM, which is my church. Knox Area Rescue Ministries, like I said, that was just one time, not weekly. That also came from my prior ideas. CAK Chapel, and then various conferences. So first, I'm going to talk about the Dutch Valley Youth Nights. This, honestly, was more than just leading worship for me. There was a lot of relationship building. This Dutch Valley church is a different campus of my home church, and it's in a part of town that is less fortunate. It's actually in the middle of an apartment community where there's not a lot of things to do for kids around there, really, so they often get caught up in things that they shouldn't be doing. So what we would do is we would go in every Saturday at about 4:30 or 5, and we would play sports with the kids. There was kids there from, 18-year-old guys wanting to play basketball to 3-year-old girls wanting to, play with your hair. So what we would do is go in and just make a relationship. This little girl's name is Anaya. She became one of my best friends. I don't even know. Through the summer of my junior year into this year, which it's still going on. But after all the fun and games was over, we would go, and me and my friend Olivia would lead worship for them, and then her dad would give a small message because he's actually the preacher of Dutch Valley. But this environment was odd because although the kids loved us, they didn't really always want to have worship or hear a message. So, they would come in there really, really rambunctious, ready to keep talking and all this stuff. So it was a little hard because sometimes they were not interested in what we were singing or saying, and they would just goof off or whatever. But we felt that our job was to push through and put them in this atmosphere of worship that they're not used to. And this is also a picture of an outside event that we did last summer, so that was really fun. And then My next place was Carm. Like I said earlier, I wanted to be there weekly, but it just didn't work out. But I was there doing an event one time, and that was in December. We kind of made it a Christmas event at their Christmas dinner that they have, where, at Knox Area Rescue Ministries, people live there and they'll come in and eat and all of that. So my youth group, our worship team all went, but each student, if you wanted to, could head up a section. So I headed up a little worship section and did that. And I actually don't have any videos of me, but this doesn't have sound. It's just to show you like the setup. We set up random stuff up there for sound, and then while they all ate, we just kind of sang over them and sang worship songs for them to be in and around. And it was really cool. It was an experience that I'm so glad that I got. And that environment also was really different. It's not like getting up in front of a church, similar to Dutch Valley Youth, but also different because they weren't even expecting us to be there. And so it was interesting, but it also impacted me a lot because when we weren't leading worship, we were talking to them and eating with them and actually serving them, which we weren't prepared to do, but they were low on staff that night. And it actually worked out great because it caused them to, when we got up there to sing or lead, they wanted to hear what we had to say. They were like, oh, she was just talking to us and goofing off and telling us about her high school experience, and I want to hear what they have to say. And that was really, really cool to watch, especially with some of my friends getting up there too. I was actually sitting with some people that were eating, and they were just going on and on about how they just loved it, and they loved worship even if they didn't know what it was about. So that was cool. Sorry. Then my next place was Park West High School Ministry. That's where I've been for years, at Park West, my home church. So that was kind of my control group for the thing. It was what I was used to. It was my comfort zone. There was no stepping out of the box there, except for what I did when I incorporated it into my capstone was I would go before I would lead worship every week and pray and just, ask God to do a new thing in the hearts of, new students coming in, because this year it was actually really different. We had a lot of growth. So it did change a little bit for me once I decided I'm going to put this in my capstone. It made me more intentional, which I needed. I needed that push because it kind of came mundane because I have been leading in that same room since 6th grade. So doing this made me really step into it and step into leadership that I hadn't before. My next one was CAK Chapel. It's been an adventure for me for the past 3 years. You guys all know what CAK Chapel is and how it is, and I love it. It's actually probably been the place that's made me grow most, simply because when you're stepping up there to lead, you're getting in front of students who are hungry for God and want to see more of God, and then there's a group that don't want to be there, and they're forced to be there. And you have to go up there knowing that because, this is a Christian school, but not everybody's a Christian, and not everybody cares about chapel. So getting up there to lead was a little nerve-wracking at times, and that's where Miss Brock comes in. She really helped me get over that. But it's probably been the most impactful, honestly, because I've had to learn how to not care about judgment and what people think. And also, I've just grown so much from support from teachers and students, kind of building me up in a way that, them seeing something in me that I kind of didn't know was there. And that's been really cool the past 2 years to be around. So these two, as you can see, are really different from the first two environments that I talked about, but each one was different in its own way, and it helped me grow in a totally different way. My fears or concerns going into this was not being able to commit. I was really scared to say, yes, I'll be at Dutch Valley every single Saturday night, because I didn't want to let anybody down, and I didn't want to, if I didn't want to go one day, I didn't want to be like, everybody's relying on this and I can't fulfill it. That really scared me because I like to do what I say. But also, a really big fear that I had was becoming burnt out on doing this all the time. I hear people say it all the time. When they do things, so much, it just becomes kind of mundane, like I said about leading in Park West HSM since 6th grade. So saying that I would be at Dutch Valley every Saturday, doing chapel here on Thursdays and having to practice when I was overloaded with homework and just wanted a free period and stuff like that. I was scared that it would burn me out and I would get done with this and be like, okay, I'm going to cut back and I don't really want to do it that much anymore. So that kind of freaked me out, but I was like, you know what, that's in my control, so it's okay. And then, of course, publicly failing because, you're getting up in front of groups of people that you wouldn't normally get up in front of. So that's always a fear, but that also had to be overcome. So the lessons learned and the impact, I'm going to go back to the point of the whole becoming burnt out thing. I had to learn, like I kind of hinted at, I actually didn't write this down, but it just kind of dawned on me. I had to learn that becoming burnt out is kind of on your own accord. Like, you can control it, and if you let yourself do that, you will. But if you realize that why you started doing what you are doing is because of like passion for something, then it's really hard to become burnt out on something that you're so passionate about. So that I kind of learned that lesson throughout it when I wasn't getting tired and I wanted to go to Dutch Valley every Saturday night. I learned, okay, I have a legitimate passion for this, and it's not something that I'm going to get burned out on. So that affirmed me a lot in the fact that this is what I want to do. But another thing was I learned that God is always intentional. Through all the 3 things that I started doing and they failed, I think that it was God's plan for me to do this capstone because, like I've said repeatedly, it caused me to jump at opportunities I wouldn't jump at. And that's been so good for me. So also, I learned that God works in unideal situations. I'm just going to tell like a short story about one of the unideal situations I dealt with. At Dutch Valley on Saturday nights, we would get up to lead sometimes, and this happened probably like 3 times, and the soundboard would just, explode. Like stop working, or there'd be like a huge crack in the middle of it, and then you have in your head you're thinking, oh no, we've lost the kids. They're cracking up. This is not good. But what I learned was that each time that happened, the kids, I don't know what it was, became so receptive. Like, in my head, what I thought would happen didn't happen. And some of the sweetest moments happened when we didn't have sound. And we were all kind of just standing in a circle, singing a cappella. We saw some of the sweetest moments with those kids. And so that was really cool. And it just showed that, God's got a plan and he doesn't really care what happens. He's going to get through that. What would I change? I would definitely, I keep going back to it, have connected more with Carm. I really, really wanted to do that. So I probably would have done some more services at Carm and stuff like that. Another thing is I really, really wanted to plan semester worship services at CAK, which I still have one in the making that I'm wanting to get for sometime in May or just something, because that's still in my heart. I love worshiping at CAK, and I'm getting a little sad that that's almost over. So my future plans, I'm going to continue to lead at Park West because that's my home. So that's kind of a given for me. But I do plan to connect with Carm. Like I said, what would I change? I wanted to connect with them. So I'm going to go ahead and just carry this out. And through the summer, I'm really going to try to, even if it's not doing anything with worship, just serving. I realized that my heart really came alive there. And then another thing that I really want to do is connect with ministries in Cleveland or at Lee, because that's where I'm going to college. And one of my big questions before doing my capstone was, do I want to get involved with worship leading at Lee or somewhere in Cleveland, or will that be too much for me? But I kind of realized through this that I need that. I want to do that because, like I said, it's my passion. I didn't get burnt out, and I just don't think that'll be too much, and this capstone showed me that. Thank you.